Hello there, my crafty friends. It's Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind Stamped AF. I've got naked nails again. What's going on? This month for the Global Stampin Video Hop, we are doing die cutting. And I've got a couple of different die cutting things going on this card. It may not look like much, but there are some different things going on. So let me show you how I did that. So I'm using the new Brewed For You bundle. This is in the upcoming annual catalog. By the time you're seeing this, it's not quite live, but it's coming. We're going to use this, and we're also using the new, that's not the right thing, Stylish Shapes dies. If you have missed the stitched shape dies, you're going to love this. The only thing missing is the ovals. So we've got circles, we've got squares, we've got bannered arrows. It's awesome. So I actually went ahead and I did some of the prep because I don't have enough time. Seriously, I need like another day in my day. So these are the supplies you're going to need. I've already gone ahead and I've die cut one of the tags from the Your Biggest Fan bundle, or the sport events dies. This isn't carrying forward and I'm so sad. I love these big dies. I did go ahead and I've used the Stylish Shape squares for this piece. So to save a little bit of time, there was nothing fancy here. I took the biggest square and not the next one, but the one after that, I just lined them up and die cut a square. I know this looks funny, but I wanted to put my die in on an angle so it didn't go clunk twice. So when you can, if you can put your dies in on a bit of an angle, it helps the roller to not be going over the entire flat shape at one time. It kind of comes in on an angle. So there's that. So I've got these two already. I'll go ahead and I will do some stamping. We're just going to layer this square cut out on here. So a little bit of a different thing. So I'll go ahead and start on that. So we're going to use the Oh Alias. I've already got all of my stamps mounted here. So we'll take this. We are using Bumblebee while we still can. My crushed curry ink pad is not, it doesn't play nice. So I thought I'm going to use Bumblebee while I still can. So what I did was I stamped this on an angle, and I'm going to use a couple of Post-it notes to just mask off those stub ends. I used tape the first time around, but I don't want it to go onto the ends. Nothing wrong with it. It wasn't the look I was going for. I do want to go just a little bit outside of those stitch lines so that any words on the main part of the tag don't get cut off. And you can see I've stamped off a lot. So I'm going to start in this upper corner. And this is just some basic background stamping. In the end, you may not be able to read one of these, but that's all right. So when I get a little, well, not a little, a big spot like that, I'm going to come in with some of the little dots. I don't know what those are supposed to be. I'm ending up with a lot more of them this time than I did the first time around. So we'll add some of those dots. We'll add a little bit of splatter to fill in these big white spaces. I could just mask off the O, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, so now we'll do this, and I did stamp these at full strength. Once I added the bit of spritz, you don't really end up seeing these quite as obviously as you could before. I turn it so that it's not the same pattern repeatedly. And there were a couple of spots where I needed just a little dot, so what I did was I cleaned off my stamp, or I lazy girl cleaned it and just stamped it till there was none left. And then I just inked up like one little spot. So I went at the edge of the ink pad and just did one, or half of one, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to take my Bumblebee Stampin' Right marker and just add some spritz or splatter, however you want to refer to it. Okay, so that is the tag done. Take these off. Like I said, you don't have to have those ends, whoops, you don't have to have those ends clean, but I like the look of it. We're going to kind of just tuck that on there. I will be putting mini Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. So I've got a 5.5 by 8.5 card base scored at 4 1/4. I've got a basic white mat that we're going to do some partial die cutting on, which may not be obvious, but this is all one piece. And then I added some vellum on the top. So the beer stein is actually all one. The only thing you're seeing that goes above is the vellum. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay, so we've got some of the Beauty of the Earth wood DSP. I really wanted to use the In Good Taste, but I didn't have enough. And then instead of the stars, we're using kind of the starburst or sunburst, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere these, not to the mat, but to the card base. Get them out of the way. Did kind of do a little offset thing, just make sure it still stays within the confines of the card base. Okay, so this one will go kind of cattywampus the other way. There we go, there's our card base. We'll put these two together. Coming together already, right? So this next part is using the stamp and the die. So I've got my beer stein here. I've got the beer. I need the mug itself. So we're going to do a little bit of partial die cutting. I need my die for the foam, which you may notice is that mother of pearl paper. Doesn't that look cool? Not at all realistic, but cool. And I know it's probably super sticky over here, but I don't need that part. What I do need is a pencil and ruler. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I have a grid. Could use my grid paper, but it's kind of dirty and that throws me a bit. So what I'm going to do is I want from basically the bottom of the handle and about the midway of the handle. So I'm going to turn it this way. This will all make sense soon. I know probably not right now, but what I'm going to do is I need to make sure that these line up. I want it to be straight. And then we'll go just to kind of to the top of the handle. I don't want that hole cut out. I did on my mock-up and it did not work so well. Okay, so that is going to be the part that stays. So, and instead of using the full-size top clear plate, I'm going to use one of the top plates from the mini. So what I'm going to do is I want to line this up. Now, it doesn't really matter so much because we're using a smaller plate, but if you wanted it to only cut to that point, sorry, let's go here, then we're gonna line it up there. But because we're using the small plate, it doesn't really matter so much. Okay, so my plate just goes a smidge, like it's 1/16 of an inch beyond that pencil line. You don't want it to move. Luckily, you can move the paper instead of having to realign. Now we're gonna hear that clunk. And I don't pull it back through, but do you see? We only got to the line. And you can do this with full-size plates, but I found that using the smaller ones, it's a big advantage. So again, line up to just below that pencil line. And the only reason I'm saying it below is because these plates are beveled. So if you go too high, you're not gonna cut as far as you want. So hold on tight. Oops, that's not gonna work because it's off there, right? So back it up. We need to move that over. Make sure it stays within the confines of the plate. Line it up, hold on tight. Help if you could see, right? And then there we go. So there's our partial die cutting. It doesn't go all the way through. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the tape and the die. We're going to bring it to our Stampin' trimmer, paper trimmer. keep that out because we need it still. Like I said, it doesn't matter if that paper tears. The beauty of the paper trimmer is that we can partial cut. So we're going to line up that line. We're going to cut. And I do like little micro cuts, but you can cut until you feel a little bit of resistance, but you don't want to go further. So I just do these like little 1/16 of an inch until I can see that it's no longer attached. You can always go a little bit further. You can't take it back. So cut as far as you feel comfortable and then just back it up and go a little bit further. And then be sure to lift so that you don't cut across. There we go, perfect. Now take that same pencil or an eraser, doesn't need to be the pencil. Erase those pencil marks, any that are on there. And now, this probably looks super funny. We're going to take that beer stein stamp with some Pool Party ink. I think you can get the idea of that on there. Now you may want to do this part first, who knows? Probably would have been the wiser course of action, but that's not how I roll. Perfect, right? You could leave it empty, but who wants an empty beer mug? Now we're going to fill our mug. I've got some crushed curry, doesn't play nice, I know, bumblebee, and cinnamon cider. Now one thing I will show you is that there are 3 little dies that cut out some long rectangles. I die cut those with vellum, as I did with the mug, and I adhere them. But you can't see enough in behind them, so I'm going to omit that part this time. And if that doesn't make sense, you'll see as I go. Now I want sponge daubers. I've got crushed curry, bumblebee, cinnamon cider. Helps if all the ink pads are open. You can start whichever way you'd like. I'm going to start with crushed curry. It doesn't seem to matter how much I ink up that ink pad, it doesn't hold it. Bumblebee. And you can kind of blend them a little bit at the line that they meet. Cinnamon cider. And I mean, you don't have to be this complicated. You could use just one color. Come back with a bumblebee just to blend it with that cinnamon cider. Give it a hot breath to reactivate the ink, and then stamp it on there. And you'll see that it lines up. The lines that are part of the mug line up on the stamp. I know, hard to see right now. Cool, right? Now, I think I'm going to take it one step further because on my initial card, I added Stinkawella to the vellum, but I think I'm going to add it on this layer just to make that beer look a little sparkly, bring it to life, and help these colors blend. I did try when I was first designing the card to use some of the glimmer paper that we have, specifically the rainbow glimmer paper, and I was going to put it under the vellum, but it wasn't obvious. I do have a yellow piece somewhere, but you couldn't tell that it was glimmer paper, and why bother using glimmer paper if you can't tell that it's glimmer paper? So they will look cute on the outside. They'll bring some color if you put them underneath, but I don't know. It felt like it was putting baby in the corner, if you know what I mean. Okay, so these pieces are garbage. Yes, we do need this for our vellum. I have a piece of vellum here that has some adhesive sheet, so this is another die cutting technique. Like I said, I'm going to skip those pieces. I have just enough of the adhesive to be able to do this beer stein, so I'm going to die cut that. I need to die cut my little mother of pearl beer foam. There's also this die if you want to do not less like a stamped beer and more a solid image, and it does cut off this top part. Not entirely sure why it's there, but all 3 of the dies do that. So they cut off the top part so you have some like air in the glass. Okay, so here's our fancy foam. Cool, right? Now, I mean, you could have it sitting at the top, but I mean, if it's foam, it's probably going to be at the top of the beer, but whatever. Okay, so here is our adhesive vellum mug. Going to pull that release paper. And the reason I've used this is because I don't want to be able to see any of the adhesive used to adhere this to the mug. It's not usually this hard to pull. There we go. So if you use adhesive on the whole thing, you can't tell that there's adhesive on it. So now I'm just gonna line this up exactly with the stamped mug. And there we go, we've got our frosty beer stein. Now, if you see what I mean, I've got the 3 little rectangles on there. I've got some Wink of Stella, but you can't see a whole lot of the detail from the mug. If I leave it this way without those little rectangles, you can see the detail. So by the time we're done, you will see the difference between the two. Maybe I will put it a little high. I don't know. To me, it seems like the foam is too low there and too high there. Meet in the middle. Okay, so one more thing. I did not stamp a sentiment on the inside because we've got I owe you one or several, which is what we're going to do right now. I'm going to take our Bumblebee ink, and you could do this with a sponge dauber so that you don't have a super obvious line in the middle, but I've got my Bumblebee on the top, and I'm just using the edge of my ink pads. I'm not masking this at all. And now I'm going to bring in my cinnamon cider. You do only get one chance to get this all inked and stamped. I have a bit of a gap in the middle. Give it a hot breath. I think that was crooked, but c'est la vie, right? So it mimics the blending that we did on the mug. Ugh, words are hard. And clean this up quickly, and all that's left is to adhere it. Got our mats on there already. So now what we can do is put our ribbon on this tag. Like I said, words are hard. I'm going to reuse some of this yellow tape that I have here. You can use whatever you'd like. We just need a little bit to go around. Scissors. Still long. I always end up going on the long side. I don't need that much. I hate wasting ribbon, especially this denim. Okay, so you could just leave it like that, but I want a little bit of a bow, a knot. It's a little more masculine than a bow. So all we're going to do is take that piece, wrap it around, tie a single knot. You can put a glue dot under there if you don't want it to move. Banner those ends a little bit. These are not usually the scissors I use, and that's why I like dedicated ribbon scissors, even if they're not the world's finest scissors. I like a long blade that cuts it one go. And I'm not gonna keep messing with it because it will end up too short and then I'll have to start over. But I don't like the angle of that one. There, good enough. Sometimes done is better than perfect, right? That on a bit of an angle. And this one is just going to look like it's slid all the way over there. Slid? I don't know. So I'm not going to take that off. I'm going to just add dimensionals where I need them. And instead of trying to get release paper off after the fact, I'm going to pull it now and just pop it under. And then we can just add a couple of dimensionals to this. This is going to go all the way across. My last one didn't span the whole width, and it also didn't go straight because I had already adhered it to my base. So this time I think I would like to have it on straight. And we don't need dimensionals on the whole thing. It's basically just the straight strip, not the part that we partial die cutted. Is that a word? Die cutted. There we go. You could glue it down, but we're gonna go like that. My last step is to use some of these Genial Gems. I'm going to bring in my dark cinnamon cider blend and color them. I actually ended up coloring them when they were already on the base for my prototype. I don't recommend it. You have to be very, very careful not to get it on the card base. So you could leave them as is, but this kind of makes it look more amber beer-like, right? Alcohol, so it should dry right away. You can pick it up with your putty end and just pick a couple random spots to place them. I'm going to cover that one little dot that I did. And we'll put one down here. There we go. That's it. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope you learned a thing or two while watching it. If you enjoyed it, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Let me know in the comments below, which do you prefer? Do you like the stars? Do you like that sunburst, starburst, whatever it is? And if you recreate it, I would love to see it. You can share it on my Facebook page. You can share it on Instagram, tagging at StampedAF. And that's all. We will see you soon, my crafty friends. Bye.